do a little would you rather. All right. 3 questions, nice and quick and fun. All right. A little quickie. All right.
Little cookie. I don't know if that's possible for us. Let's try. Yeah.
Can an orgy be a quickie? Can you do a quick orgy? You know.
Well, you can. I think it's hard to do. Anyone can do a quick fart.
Like a 3 minute.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, that sounds intense.
Sounds a lot of work.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we could try doing.
We're gonna try today.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so like I said, I love the sex party thing that you guys talked about. So would you rather go to a sex party hungover or explain to someone why you ghosted them?
Oh my god, I want to do both. Going to sex parties hungover, and like you get the hangover horn, and for some reason I get really fucking horny, and I can come so much easier when I'm hungover. I'm dying, and I'm like, get away from me, but also make me come, please. So yeah, I would say
That might be a hangover cure too.
hangover at a sex
An
party.
orgasm?
I might be able to come at a sex party. That's unheard of for me. So yeah, that'd be cool.
Wow.
I'm going to say the other one. I would rather explain to someone why I ghosted them because I don't drink and I don't want to go to a sex party hungover.
Yeah, fair.
No.
Valid.
The breath that you get with a
Oh,
hangover.
the breath, the
like
hangover
the
breath.
stomach.
The shits.
It's not going to make me feel
Not
sexy.
okay.
Throwing up on everything.
Yeah.
Pretty sexy.
Yeah. Smells become really pungent when you're hungover.
This is only if you don't carry on drinking, though. See, we can't do a 3-minute orgy. Look at us.
We already failed. All right. Would you rather sext with someone or have phone sex? Like on the phone, talking dirty.
I would say sext because then I can like come up with really elaborate things to say to people. What would you
I
say?
don't know. I think probably my gut's going for phone sex, but that's only if they're telling me what to do and I'm on webcam at the same time, or they can see me and I'm like doing stuff as well. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, if it was like a kind of like a sub dom situation, they're on the phone telling me what to do, how to fuck myself, then yeah, I'll go for that.
Nice. Well, texting too, you can do voice memos. You could-
True.
That's true.
Does that count as sexting?
Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah.
All right, voice.
Second thoughts.
Yeah.
So you can play the same thing over and over again. You can like it, heart it, save it.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then last one: teas with ice or hot wax?
Oh fuck me.
Oh god, that's really hard.
I don't like either of them personally.
Okay.
But I like the fear that both of them bring. I like fear, so yeah. I would go for ice. No, I hate that as well. I hate them both. I hate them both, but I love to hate them.
I would go for wax, I think, because I prefer being hot over being cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although I do like the fact that ice just like melts all over you.
No, I don't like
I once gave someone a blowjob with ice in my mouth and it gave them dick freeze, and that was not a good moment for the sexual situation. It
Dick
really,
freeze.
Yeah.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that.
yeah.
Well, it's brain freeze.
Yeah, but for the
effectively,
dick.
Yeah.
yeah, it put an end to what was going to be an amazing blowjob, obviously.
So they didn't like stay frozen hard. That was it.
No, definitely shriveled
Oh.
with the coldness.
No. Tucked away it goes.
Back into the
I think
shower.
my clip would do the same.
Did we get an answer from you? Did you pick one?
No.
I wanted them both, and I didn't want either because, I don't.
You just like the fear.
If I have to, I just want the fear. It's the threat of it. If I would have to pick, it would be ice,
All right.
but not on my bed. I don't want a messy bed.
Fair enough.
I think for me, mental health is really important. I have obsessive compulsive disorder and anxieties, and that can really play and affect my work and who I am and how I present. So making sure I am staying on top and really noticing when I'm not doing so good. So I do this with a therapist. I'm privileged, I'm lucky enough to pay for a therapist, but there are means that you can go to find therapy, whether it's paid or unpaid or small amounts. I think everyone should see a therapist, especially if you're doing something that requires a lot of you, whether or not it's like being online or talking to people about sex or mental health. You really need to put your own mental health above everyone else's so you can care and educate and inform others.
Absolutely. And so there are a lot of fun things that come with being a sex educator with the podcast and everything. What is some of the highlights and best moments of doing this?
Oh my goodness. I mean, we've done everything. Going to sex parties, I think originally I went just for pleasure, but then it's like I want to talk about them on the podcast. Kind of never saying no to a situation. Actually, no, let's not say that because that could come across really wrong. Being a yes person, always wanting to try new things, and I feel if something makes you feel uncomfortable or intimidated or afraid, then you just got to run towards it, because you can grow as a person and learn more about yourself.
Yeah, especially when that comes with excitement. Like you're intimidated, but you feel excited at the same time, and you're like, I should probably just trust that gut feeling and like run with that.
Yeah. And one of my highlights of the whole time doing what I do is being in the middle of a 12-person orgy, and that was in Jamaica on a nudist resort, on a swingers resort. Completely, it was wild. I'm not saying it was pleasurable in the same ways you think that sex should be pleasurable, but it was pleasurable in that it just was such an incredible opportunity, and everything was happening. That was the pleasure part.
My name is Florence. I'm she, her. And I am so many different things. It's so hard to explain to people what I do. So I'm a co-founder of Come Curious, which is a sex education YouTube channel, co-host of Fucks Given, and now I'm an author. I just wrote a book that's coming out this May.
Congratulations about that book. I know there's some fun sex stories and masturbation tips. What's one of your favorite tips, or one that you can think of that you'd like to share?
I think something that isn't really thought about when we masturbate is breathing, and making sure that you aren't restricting your own breath. Instead, you want to like deepen it and inhale, and then you like kind of brings the pleasure up and through your body in a crazy way. And I don't think people do it enough, because we just taught from porn and everyone's like or like holding.
I really like that advice, because when you think of partnered sex, you do a lot of heavy breathing because you're just in that moment. Right. But when you're masturbating, you're kind of like, let me just get this over with.
I don't know about you, but I've always held my breath quite a lot whilst I masturbate. Like when the orgasm's building, I'll just be like, but actually it prolongs the orgasm from actually happening. And also just makes, I think, the pleasure during the whole experience less as well.
Is there going to be an audio version?
There is. And it's really exciting, because I'm reading all the sex tips and advice, but for the stories, do you want me to hold it? Okay. I thought you were just continue. For the sex stories, we have some very sexy people reading it. So it's basically going to be audio porn.
Oh, wow. That is so exciting. But where can we get the book?
So it's available at the moment in the UK, and it's also going to be published in Portuguese and Brazil, French in France, Spain and Holland. We're still trying for the US deal, but there's a loophole. You can still get it in the US if you order from the UK Amazon.
I see. And I don't think you said the name of your book.
It's This Book Will Make You Feel Something, because it definitely will.
Make you feel in yourself a little.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
So the program is mostly based on giving people all of the sex education that they were denied, or that they were straight up lied to about, and that they were given with a lot of shame. So I do a lot of starting out with everyone, asking them what they feel like they're struggling with the most, what they want to learn about, and teach them all of that stuff, but also really examine the societal, like the systems that purity culture is propped up by. So patriarchy, white supremacy, all of that stuff are like the reasons that we get taught sex ed in such a limiting way, and the reason that like evangelical Christianity teaches so much sexual shame. So I'm examining all that stuff in my work. I did not grow up in a fundamentalist religion myself, so I feel like I have the unique perspective of being a total outsider to the struggles that the other people are coming to me with, and I can almost provide this like sense of, oh wow, that's not at all how things should be. So when people are raised in such a conservative religion, they often don't have that feedback from other people.
To show that it's okay
Totally.
to explore it. Awesome.
Right? And that we come so far from understanding that black sexuality has always been queer under the gaze of whiteness. And so there's no way for us to accept part of blackness that doesn't include this expand. Yeah, if you're not pro-black and queer, right? And so it takes a lot of work because not only are black folk deeply religious, but it is also cultural. And so I recognize that, and a lot of my work is walking people through understanding how the things we see easily with racism and anti-blackness are twin sisters to how we see queer, anti-queer rhetoric and ideology. My grandmother would say, you got opinions a mile long and an inch deep. Right? There is no depth to your pro-blackness if it ends at being black male centered.
Right.
There's no depth to your pro-blackness if it ends at being a turf, right? Black folk have been here and have existed in every arena with queer folk contributing heavily to it. And we allow them to be erased and to go unrecognized for how much they've done. And so if we start digging a little deeper than that inch.
That queer is in the bloodline.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, thanks so much for your time. How important is it to kind of blend the world of sexual pleasure professionals and media? How important is that for you?
I think it's important for all of us because the way to get the message out even further to people who maybe don't realize we exist or that there's information to know, things that they need to learn. If we want to get it to the wider audience, you do that through media. And if I learned anything from doing the Netflix shows, people all over the world reached out, like literally questions, or just to say like, I didn't know that, or this was so helpful. And these are grown-ups. These are like people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s who didn't have this information before. So like taking it to a platform where it's getting a much larger reach, I think should be like at least part of our end game, or one of the ways we teach.
Normalization.
Exactly.
And openness. Awesome.
Exactly.
And what is the best part about what you do? Like what?
Oh my
inspires
God.
you and-
Just, I think honestly, it's helping people. It's somebody comes into the sex shop and they find something that works for them, or they come back and they tell me how amazing an experience they had, or they let me know of an issue they had that they didn't let on when they were purchasing the product, and they're like, you don't know how much you helped me, and now I want more people to know about this, and I want to share that. And that is literally why I do what I do, because so many of us feel alone. We don't feel, you don't feel normal, or you feel like you're the only one going through a thing. And to hear other people, not only that there are other people, but people who do the work, who are going through things that you go through, and that there are ways to remedy it or get closer to, an outcome that you're looking for. I think it pushes me every day to keep doing this, because every time we think we've said something a million times, there's still a million people who haven't heard that thing that we've already said so many times. I like, taking what we do into places that you don't normally think about. Religious settings. I've talked to churches and parishioners and things, because they're having sex too. And it's kind of reworking maybe how we speak about things so that you can meet people where they are. and give them the information. Just going into settings that aren't your usual, like where you think we would come talk about sex, and just bringing that to people. I do my show in bars, in the back rooms of bars, where people are coming in to have a drink or whatever, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to watch this go-go show. Oh, they're talking about sex, and oh, I can ask a question. And the amount of questions, sometimes you can tell people are like just joking around, but people ask the deepest questions about relationships or something they've been having because they've never had the space to do that. And it's like suddenly while they're having a beer, they're like, oh, I've been met with the opportunity, and so I'm going to get the answer to this question. So I feel like the more we move beyond just our own bubble, it's how we gather up more people into, learning about what we do and then passing it on.
That's amazing. And then the last thing, I see your banner, your sash. All right, Sexpert of the Year 2023. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lola, for spending some time with us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have been collecting people's unwanted sex toys, whether they're broken or like defective for some reason, or they just don't want them anymore and they can't be like sanitized. There's a lot of toys that you can, in fact, disinfect, but like not too many people want a secondhand sex toy. So there's not really like a whole lot of possibility for what you can do with an unwanted sex toy. So I'm trying to collect as much of them as possible, take them apart, maybe not all of them, but take them into like component parts, try to make an art installation out of all of that.
Oh my God.
I don't intend to solve the problem of sex toys and going into our landfill, but just kind of people
that conversation.
Yeah, people underestimate the size of the sex toy industry, so obviously our trash is also not taken into consideration. But,
What is your favorite sex toy right now?
I mean, honestly, it's hard to ever deviate from the magic wand, formerly the Hitachi magic wand. But yeah, the original, there's like 4 different models of it right now. Any of the 4 models I will take. Pure wand. I love Fun Factory's insertable vibes, like the Big Boss. Fun Factory, anything is going to be great, as I'm sure you know. But yeah, there's some things that always stay in regular rotation, and those are the ones. Yeah.
Amazing. How important is it for you to see sex educators, pleasure professionals have space in the world of media and content creation?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't, there's not really a venue for sex education. There's certainly a sex ed in schools, but that is pretty much at the whim of the teacher, the program, the county, the school, the state, everything. So aside from that, a lot of people get their education from porn, which is, not is less than ideal, and it is not sex education, even though there is sex education porn. That's, a specific thing.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know about that.
Yeah, I mean, Jessica Drake did a lot of videos like that. Nina Hartley did a lot of educational. There's, more instructional porn videos, and people can certainly learn a lot from porn when, but at the end of the day, it's film and entertainment. So even with an amateur POV video, it's going to be, people are playing to camera, but. Aside from that, so a lot of people learn about sex from porn, and even if they're like, oh, I got to use lube, which you barely see in porn, like you're not getting all the details and the things you need to know. So sex education comes in. Social media was a really big place I used to educate from, and it felt a lot more easy and fun to do back in like 2015. Now I find that it's really just so convoluted and difficult to have meaningful conversations on Instagram, for instance, that I've kind of just taken a step back and been like, I don't feel like social media is the space for me to do that anymore. And then on top of that, we have so much censorship that people who are, providing education, even in the most clinical, sanitized terms, are being censored, shadow banned, which is like a debated thing, but it is for sure a thing. There's just a lot of, I think ever since social media algorithms changed to prioritize, basically whatever the corporation wants to prioritize, it's been really hard to get correct, accurate information. And we rely so much more on like virality or like eye-catching things than actual information. So I applaud anybody who's like still on their grind doing sex education on social media, because it's not a friendly place for sex ed, even when it's, comprehensive and sex positive and all that. They don't care.
And with the hardships of being a pleasure professional, there are some exciting things and fun things. What's a highlight for you, or why do you do it? What joy does it bring to you?
One of my favorite things is just helping people who are, not able to achieve orgasm, people who are kind of like, I'm not sure if I have a G-spot, questions that today I'm like, I used to think those things about myself, like, oh, there's no way I'll ever be able to have an orgasm. I don't think I have a G-spot, all that. Some pretty things that feel pretty straightforward to me now, but it wasn't all that long ago. I was like, I have no idea what's going on with my body. And I love talking to other people who are feeling kind of in a similar crossroads, because I don't know, just making that one-on-one connection with somebody, definitely interpersonal face-to-face conversations, or even just over the internet, one-on-one conversations are the more meaningful things. I certainly like when I, take a silly pic with a dildo and it goes viral, or what. Like, I mean, it's been a while since that happened, but
My name is Max Capacity. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm one of the original founders and the current owner and creative director of Aorta Films. So we are an internationally award-winning queer and trans indie porn studio, and we make lusty, opulent, ethical fuckery. So we try to make work that we talk about it exploding with destabilizing pleasure and sending cultural fault lines into the world to disrupt it for the better. So we really try to work with a pretty wide range of queer performers across all like genders, bodies, identities, sexualities, and make really hot porn. I think for us to be doing what we do, which is creating films that are making space for performers to be sort of at their most vulnerable and at their most powerful at the same time, it's really about creating a space for them that feels well negotiated, that feels respectful, that feels safe and supportive. So a lot of like the work that I do as a director and as a producer is really like less about, okay, get this shot, now do this sex act, now be in this position, and more about being like, cool, what sort of sex do you want to have on camera? What sort of play do you want to do? Do you want it to be narrative? Do you want it to be kinky?
So they're very involved with.
Super involved.
That's amazing.
And then being like, my real job is how do I hold that space for you? And how do I set up a space where you feel like not only like really trusting that we're gonna like catch it in a way that makes you feel good and powerful, but like, do you feel able to say pause? Do you feel able to change something if it's not working for you? So the way we go in, the thing we say like a million times on set is like, we really want performers like the second something could be better, whether that's like I need someone to fluff my pillow, or like, can I actually have a sip of water, or like, hey, I'm feeling really crampy this morning, I don't want to do that thing anymore, right? Like the second they want something to be different, we want to know about it so we can work with them to make it the best experience
So
possible.
you do a lot of aftercare and before care.
Yes, yeah, care the whole way through. And we do like a really long timeline too. So sometimes we'll know someone for like a full year before we actually start working together. Like there's a lot of like getting to know each other, hearing what they're,
Build
you
that
know,
trust and that friendship. That's
yeah,
awesome.
and hearing what their perfect scene is, and then sort of like matchmaking them with someone that they think, you know, that we think might be like a cute match, seeing if there's real chemistry, seeing how they negotiate, you know. So it's a long process, but I think when people like see our films and feel really like turned on by them or empowered or like feel really seen, a lot of like what they're actually seeing is that sort of like deep care practice.
Really amazing. Where can we watch Aorta Films?
Yeah, www.aortafilms.com. We have a website, it's a membership site, and memberships start as low as $8. Yeah, you get access to like 80 short films and features, and we have a whole clip library called Community Hardcore, where we're featuring content from like OnlyFans, content creators, which is like such a booming industry right now. We're really excited to get to bring those folks into the site as well. So yeah, we would love to have people check out our work. You can also find us on Instagram at Aorta Films Will Never Die, because it's our 4th account, I think, at this point.
Because of the
Ongoing censorship.
Yeah. One last question for you. Is there like a go-to sex position that you've been
Someone asked me this earlier. I was like, how could I possibly just choose one?
as of late? Or
I mean, I think for me, fisting is like the most magical thing ever, right? Like, I think it feels really affirming to my queerness. It feels really affirming to my gender. It feels like just really fucking hot and really like virtuosic, right? Like, something I like about being a porn performer is I get to be like an athlete with my body. And so like being able to be like, yeah, I can take a fucking lot and I can give a fucking lot. Like, to me, that's fucking hot.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing and spending some time with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome.